Have you ever wondered why Linda Ronstadt never married? As she explains why she could never be married, we will reveal the revelations in this video that have shocked and unsettled followers. Despite being the mesmerizing voice behind timeless hits like Blue Bayou and You're No Good, Linda Ronstadt is a fascinating lady whose private life has mostly stayed secret. Her life is filled with both success and the echoes of loneliness. One can better understand Linda Ronstadt's perspective on marriage by closely examining her early years. Her formative years displayed a range of influences and choices that would shape her future. Born in 1946, Ronstadt's formative years were a harmonious mashup of several influences. She was able to portray a fusion of Mexican and white heritage because to her father's Mexican heritage and her mother's white heritage. As Linda grew up in Tucson, Arizona, her parents had a significant role in her musical growth, in addition to being supportive. Gilbert Ronstadt, her father, was a prosperous equipment merchant who had a deep appreciation for traditional Mexican music. He shared his love of the many sounds of cumbias and rancheras with Linda and her siblings. Linda was introduced to the world of classical music by her mother, Ruth Ronstadt, a homemaker with a strong interest in opera. As a kid, Ronstadt's passion for music blossomed, and she began playing at local gatherings alongside her brothers. Tucson's arid landscape served as a backdrop and source of inspiration for her, influencing the lyrical richness of her voice that would last for years to come. It all began with the 1967 hit song Different Drum by her band, the Stone Ponies. As a solo artist, Linda's powerful voice attracted notice right once, and she became a true trailblazer, daringly playing with a wide range of musical forms. You may think of her CDs as a musical journey through pop, rock, country, lounge, and more, since they showcase her talent in many genres. One of her best-known pieces is the Spanish-language masterpiece Canciones de mi Padre. In 1969, she made history as a solo artist with Hand-Sewn Homegrown, which is recognized as the first alternative country album by a female artist. Linda effortlessly transitioned across genres, reaching the top spot with 3 hits that dominated the U.S. charts. Living in the USA, 1978, Simple Dreams, 1977, and Heart Like a Wheel, 1974. She not only conquered stages, but other places like stadiums and pavilions that are often reserved for male performers. It makes perfect sense for her to be both the Queen of Rock and the First Lady of Rock. Linda Ronstadt was adamant about breaking preconceptions and claiming the music industry as her own. Linda Ronstadt was a musical luminary in the 1970s and 1980s. It wasn't all glitter and gloss, but she was a woman defining a male-dominated rock world. The music industry, with its fair share of chauvinism, made it twice as hard to claim her work. She talked about the challenging times and how isolating the journey appeared. She set things up so you would realize that they didn't even have a term for that kind of loneliness. It's interesting to note that despite being famous, Linda Ronstadt experienced moments of self-doubt. Imagine this iconic singer pushing herself to the limit. In a 2019 documentary, her former manager described how she would become anxious when patrons whispered during her concerts. She needed time to reach the point where she could just abandon everything else and focus only on the music, Linda said in an interview, adding that she didn't always feel like she sang enough and that she thought people were thinking, "She's the worst singer I've ever heard." She overcame uncertainty with a fantastic interaction with the music. In regards to her performances, Linda felt uneasy when she saw familiar faces in the audience. She couldn't understand why people came to see her perform. Isn't that strange? She finds it especially challenging to assume a public character. Relationships were a real problem for her since she was always observing other people, especially considering how long she was on the tour bus. She once likened the life of a traveling musician to the tales found in classic maritime fiction, such as those authored by Joseph Conrad, the well-known author of Heart of Darkness. The life of a sailor, the frequent ports, and the companionship with the same old salty people are only a few of the vivid pictures these stories conjure us. Linda likened it to life on tour when each day seemed to be a replica of the previous one. Buses, hotels, sound checks, shows, meals, and the same routine after a show. Does that mean she didn't engage in any relationships? Actually, as Linda rose through the ranks of the music industry, she became involved in a number of high-profile partnerships. Despite dating several influential figures in the arts and politics, She never made the decision to be married. Rumors circulated about her romantic life, citing her sexual orientation as the reason she was unmarried. People assumed she kept it a secret because she was afraid of being rejected. But when she finally spoke up in an interview, she offered a very different perspective. In fact, this remarkable woman previously expressed her desire to find love and marry the right person. She emphasized that finding someone who made her heart sing was more important to her than following social norms. So what did she mean by the right person? She did, however, also list her requirements for the ideal spouse, which include charm, loyalty, and a kind disposition. She said that having a great sense of humor is a major factor in attraction. An immediate advantage would go to the person who could make her laugh. She would also be more able to consider a relationship if she had a strong sense of herself and a love of music. Despite dating music-loving men, none of them ended up becoming her soulmate. Later in life, she disclosed the true reason she was unmarried, shedding light on a different route. While her friends were getting married and starting families, she was putting her all into creating music for her fans. Linda Ronstadt made the deliberate choice to prioritize her artistic endeavors over conventional marriage advice. She laughed as she remarked, "Marriage wasn't a priority for me. I was a serial monogamist." Her laughter revealed the carefree mindset that influenced her lifestyle decisions. She had a special place in her heart for her career, and she didn't want the commitment of marriage to divert her focus. But was that the only reason? Of course not. Before we discuss the other, more significant reasons for her decision to remain single, let's take a look at the few relationships that added complication to her journey. In 1970, Linda began a very important association with John Boylan, the Grammy winner. They were more than just a couple. They shared a home, and John even managed Linda's career. They remained devoted to each other for many years after their love story blossomed. However, when they decided to live together, things took a turn for the worst. At that point, everything fell apart, Linda told Rolling Stone in 2019. She was looking for someone who agreed with her goals and encouraged her choices. They respected each other's abilities and continued to work together despite their personal separation. After divorcing John, Linda fell in love again in 1972 with J.D. Souther. During 2 incredible years, they lived together and worked together on a number of songs, including Prisoner in Disguise, Simple Man, Simple Dreams, and Faithless Love. Their romantic journey ended in 1974, though J.D. admitted he couldn't remember why, but they remained friendly and treasured the bond they had built. Soon after she divorced J.D. in 1974, Linda fell in love with Albert Brooks, star of Defining Your Life. Despite the fact that Albert is not a musician and Linda is not interested in his line of work, they were attracted to one another. However, their romance came to an end in 1976, less than 2 years later. Now let's concentrate on her most well-known romance, her connection with Jerry Brown, a former California governor and American politician. They had a great time in the late 1970s, and their story began in 1971. In her 2013 book, Simple Dreams, Linda graciously writes of their years of pleasure. Even though Linda found solace in Jerry Brown's presence, she recognized that this was not a relationship that would last a lifetime. It's rather different to court a guy in politics, because a politician needed to be at home all the time, not a singer on a constant tour. Linda gave the media the impression that it wouldn't work out. According to her, she never deceived herself into thinking they would be talking about every aspect of their lives. She thought her world would be too small and too wild for him. They part ways so gracefully, taking various paths that suit their own personalities. They always got along well, even though Linda doesn't spend much time on that period of her life, and Jerry's existence is hardly acknowledged. After Linda bid farewell to Jerry, she encountered none other than Bill Murray. Indeed, there are many tales regarding some unusual incidents involving Groundhog Day actors and Emmy Award winners in the early 1980s. Later on in 1983, Linda's journey led her to Jim Carrey. The encounter was held at one of his Los Angeles gigs. Despite Linda's initial desire to begin her journey with someone, fate had other plans, and she formed a special bond with Jim. A fantastic 8 months passed during which their connection developed. Linda was always being praised by Jim Carrey, who called her an amazing human being. As he put it, "She is an incredible human being." He was obviously in love with her. Following her relationship with Jim, Linda began to become involved with George Lucas. The two met in 1983 when following backstage at one of Linda's events. Their 5-year journey together included an engagement at one point. However, despite their tight bond, they chose to conceal numerous details from the public. Unfortunately, as previously said, when things did not work out with George, they parted ways in 1988. In 1989, Linda decided to give love another shot, this time with Aaron Neville. With duets like Don't Know Much and When Something Is Wrong with My Baby, they recorded a song that reflected their affection for one another. They were even regarded by many as the first popular music couple. However, their loving journey ended in 1992. Since then, Linda has embraced being a single mother and has made the most of her life. You may be wondering why Linda never considered getting married to any of the talented and intriguing men in her life. Did she never find true love at all? In 1974, she said that the wild Hollywood lifestyle was the reason she was reluctant to really commit to love. Linda reflected on how she approached relationships and expressed her reluctance to put herself in a position where she might fail. Relationships just don't seem to last for very long, she stated. I used to ask myself, why can't people just get married and stay married? It's not that simple. You will naturally change and you will always learn new things. In a 2019 Washington Post interview, she loudly stated her lack of marital skills, saying, I prefer not to compromise. I am not going for a pink couch if I want one, and someone else does not want one. I wish for a pink couch. She said that relationships were an almost impossible challenge, adding to the complexity of her life. Consequently, she gave multiple reasons for not getting married, including her work. She always exuded a great degree of freedom in both her personal and artistic life, and she never intended to give up her freedom. In contrast to her candid opinions about marriage and relationships, Linda's experiences also diverged from the typical image of rock stars in the late 1960s and early 1970s. While many people assume they have been to wild parties motivated by various excesses, Linda's story unfolds differently. Despite her freedom, she became a unique figure in the music scene of the era, and she laughs at a personal trait that sets her apart even though she did engage in some odd activities. Did I try things? I certainly did, but reading is my addiction. Unexpectedly, rockers like reading as a hobby. Back in the motel room, I was the woman who was reading and crocheting. According to Ronstadt, she was introduced to Anna Karenina by a musician at the National Book Festival in Washington, D.C., who described how piano players were ardent readers who served as a sort of peacekeeper, in contrast to drummers who were less driven. The dynamics made her giggle. The lead guitar player was like the high-strung pitcher, and the piano player was the catcher, she said. Were you aware of her adopted children? Well, compared to her alleged affairs, this one is less well known. In addition to reading, Linda, the well-known singer of When Will I Be Loved, particularly appreciated parenting without traditional vows. She gladly welcomed Mary, her firstborn daughter, into her heart in December 1990. She later expanded her family by adopting her son, Carlos, in 1994. Linda skillfully balanced the responsibilities of a music phenomenon with those of a devoted mother in between sold-out performances. Around the turn of the century, Linda began to struggle with the once strong voice that enthralled listeners. By 2009, live performances were difficult, and in 2011 she officially retired. Only in 2013 did the world learn the truth. Linda Ronstadt was candid about her decision to quit the stage due to her Parkinson's disease in an interview with the American Association of Retired Persons. After several years, Linda was diagnosed with supranuclear palsy, a rare brain disorder for which there is now no effective therapy. In 2019, doctors advised her to relax and spend more time at home. In an interview back in 2020, Linda Ronstadt talked about the challenges she had with the disease impairing her voice. She explained how it was hard to find that familiar tune and how the top notes disappeared. Her throat seemed to be playing catch, causing a spasm, and her entire career flashed before her eyes. No regrets, Linda said passionately but concisely when asked how she feels about the fact that the disease has made her dependent on walking sticks and has taken away her singing voice. She reflected on her incredible career and acknowledged her lengthy period of public prominence. Linda's life took a different turn after receiving the diagnosis, deviating from her original path. Gardening, knitting, and leisurely travel were replaced with a more constrained reality. Despite these challenges, Linda found solace in her writing. It evolved into a unique journey that allowed her to revisit the landscape of her past and rebuild connections with cherished memories of people who are no longer physically present, but who nevertheless resonate strongly in her mind. Does this imply that she has stopped listening to music? Not quite. Despite her ongoing battle with progressive supranuclear palsy, this Grammy Award-winning icon asserts that music remains a vital part of her life. In a heartfelt conversation, Linda spoke out about her struggles and how her love of music endures. In 2014, Linda was rightfully inducted as a First Ballota Rock and Roll Hall of Famer, stating, "I can't sing at all, but I still love music and can still play music in my head." Her legacy is firmly established, even though she may no longer produce the enchanted tones that once captivated millions and drew huge crowds in her prime. For her devoted fan base, she consistently rates among the top vocalists in a wide range of genres. If you're wondering if Linda Ronstadt is still single, we can tell you that she gracefully embraces her single position in her late 70s. She spends time with her cherished kids, who are the most important people in her life. Linda finds solace in the timeless influence of music and the joy her kids bring to her life on their own. Whether she is enjoying the intimacy of her family or listening to the tunes in her head, Linda Ronstadt's resilience and enduring impact from her extraordinary musical journey serve as an inspiration. She makes us reflect on our own journeys, from the pinnacles of success to the agonizing periods of isolation. How do you stay motivated to overcome obstacles? You may express your thoughts in the space provided for comments below. For more video updates, don't forget to hit the subscribe button. I'll see you in the upcoming video. Stay tuned until then.